we have here a little piece of hardware that's going to go in RC, El Camino, and I'm going to explain it to you. But I want to explain a little bit about why this is so hard to get. Mainly because I don't know what it's called, but I'm also going the exact opposite of the way that the rest of the world goes. So as far as I go here, this is called the back drive, and what it comes off of is the column on the steering column, where you would normally have a handle that you shift with there, and this connects onto a lever. Sorry, I'm a little bit out of frame there. This connects onto a lever on the shifter column, or the steering column. It then goes down, and that in turn pushes on this and pivots it. This is bolted in the car, so when that pivots it, this then turns, this mounts on the transmission over here and actually shifts the gears. So transfer through, when you move the lever on the gear shift, it moves this rod here, which pivots this rod, and this clevis here is what actually shifts the transmission. These parts are almost never kept, and everybody throws them away because they go the opposite. What we have in the car right now is a floor shifter with a cable, and that's great if you're actually racing. It looks cool, but it's kind of clunky. And if you're just trying to drive on the street, or if your wife is driving, it's really tough for her to work that and work it correctly. So we're going back to this, and I'm going to run you through while we take everything apart and put the new stuff in. It's a little bit tough to see, but right here is where the linkage, or the cable, connects to the linkage on the transmission. We'll eventually have to take that linkage out as well, but what main thing we need to do is take this pin out. There's a little key on the back, which you probably can't see, but then that pin comes out, and then eventually we need to take eventually this mount here needs to come out. That's mounted on a couple bolts on the transmission pan, and all the cable linkage needs to come off. Once we do that, then when we take the shifter off, but you're really not going to be able to see it up there, but that cable where it goes up into the shifter up there will then also be able to pull through the floor, so we won't have any of it anymore. And then we'll get to connecting the new old, or old new linkage. I know this header's in the way, but you're really not seeing much there. But I am going to take off this the linkage, or the jam nuts holding this this cable on first. I think it'll be easier to do that before we actually take the mount off. Once we have the mount off, we'd probably have to try and hold it with hammers or something, and I just don't want to do that. But I'm hoping that it shouldn't take too much to get these nuts loose. All right. Cable comes out. All right, I couldn't have you around for the nuts and bolts themselves, but here's the exciting part. This is the exciting part for me. There's the shifter, and we pull and pull some more and pull some more, and there it is. No more shifter. We just have a nasty scar to take care of in the carpet. Hopefully the bench seat will cover most of that. And this thing take my word for it, is junk. Right down here in the darkness still, that's the linkage that comes off of the steering column. Here's our nice little bar, kind of long enough to fit down in here. It goes through that. Actually feels like a nice snug fit still. Got a little washer to provide the correct spacing. And then the hard part is going to be putting our clip in here. Hopefully that won't go too badly here. See if I can maybe get it started. And then oh, look at that. Boy, am I good or what? Anyway, that's hanging down there. We should be able to connect with the rest of our linkage now. Here's the bracket for the other end of the pivot. Got some nice new bolts to go on that. Let's see if we can get these started here. Kind of a little bit strange. Hasn't had one down here for a while. It's becoming a little bit tough to get the bolts in, just because they've become full of junk there. I think easy way is called for here. Not like we came off that one. Let's see if we can tighten it down just a little bit more. Yep, that's pretty snug. All right. This pivot piece pushes against that with this embedded in there, and then goes in. See if I can point you in the right direction. Goes through this thusly. Got the linkage through on this side. See if I'm strong enough to push this in with my fingers. If I'm going to have to get out. There we are. Look at that. Well, partway through. Well, let's see if we can go through this way. And there we are. Look at that. A little bit tight, but that's okay. It'll probably wear in. This linkage here attaches through this little stop here. Looks like it will go on this side. We adjust it up here. See if I can get you a little better look at it there. Got the bolt and the correct a little washer for spacing there. And last but not least, all right. Got just a little bit of slack in it. I think that'll work. Can't show it to you right now because the top part of it is fixed. Can show you a little bit. This moves. That part moves. Unfortunately, it's about all we can move it right now until we get the linkage up top on the column done. Got this thing dug out of a box from months ago, possibly even a year ago. It is a steering column that I bought from a junkyard somewhere, I want to say in Wisconsin. It is a steering column from a 1969 Chevelle. We really got it for about one part and one part only. That is the gear shift lever right there. You can buy gear shift levers for different things, aftermarket columns, but the ones that I found that say that they're stock from here really aren't, and they just don't work in the column. So I've done this on, it was a 69 Chevelle, actually. And what you have to do is you have to buy an older stock column. You have to get it from a junkyard. And then you have to use this gear shift. I suppose we'll use this. There's some other pieces on here as far as the ignition switch and the let's see if we can get this off there. I'm a little bit worried because this is going to come flipping out of there. They're kind of spring loaded. That is a lot longer pin than you think it is. There it is. But you can't buy one that works on the stock columns, and so you have to get this. There's this, which is a very strange little piece right here. And then there is in there usually a spring. I don't know if that's going to come out or not. Now, before we try to dig that out, let's see if there's one in our column first, and then we'll see if we need to put it in there. Kind of the final step in the process is we're going to put the lever into the column, and because everything has kind of been rusty and everything for a little while, we've done a number of things to lubricate here. I've cleaned that out, or sprayed that out with some WD-40, cleaned off the rust off the little shifter thing here, and we're going to try and put it all together with a little bit of grease. I'll tell you what, if you guys haven't lived in the South, and I don't claim to be a Southerner, in fact, I came from out west, but there is stuff growing all over in here. You can see that. Out in the west, you didn't have to worry about this. In fact, you did have to worry about things drying out and falling apart. But here, they're covered with everything, things that are growing. Anyway, let's see if we can put this back together. There's the pin in. Get that tapped in. All right. And last but not least, we don't have any battery connector or anything, so we're not going to be able to start anything, but here's in park, won't go anywhere. If we turn the key on, hopefully, it's operating. We'll have to make sure it shifts correctly, but I think we're back in business the way we're supposed to be. We'll have to reconnect everything on this column, and that's kind of for another day when we get back to the wiring, but we've got to have the reverse switch, or what they refer to as the neutral safety switch, was taken off of here, jumped down to the shifter on the floor. You can't see my hand there, but jumped down to the shifter on the floor. And even the reverse lights, which normally come from a switch on the transmission, came from the shifter itself. So that was another one that was a problem. Quite often things would be out of adjustment. The reverse lights would be on when you were going down the road in drive. So it'll be good to get a lot of these things taken care of.